Hey, here we are at video 5. Yay! In that last video, we were talking about support work, the expectations we have of workers, and what we really want to see happening when people are out and about or in their own homes with the support that's paid. And by the way, many of these principles can occur for those in unpaid roles with people, family, others who might like to take an interest in that individual and be part of anything that's going on. These are not solely things that would be there for just the person who's there paid to work. So in that last video, we were talking about dispelling those myths about entertainment, keeping people safe as the only objective, or that the person can't really actually learn anything. We're just going to keep going over the same old, and the importance of actually building capacity in that individual. And so today, we're going to talk about the developmental model. This is not the only time we're going to talk about this. This is going to be reasonably short, I think, so that we can just get into the idea. So the NDIS calls the developmental model capacity building. And actually, in the early days of the NDIS, who in Australia, by the way, for those outside Australia, that's our funding body, it started with great expectations of building capacity in people. But unfortunately, because of the lack of skills in services, the lack of expectation around people with disability, people don't really know how to do these things, a lot of this got lost. Many people have actually been able to do extraordinary things with their funding. Some others have just had more of the same. Again, not to say it's all been bad, but we were really trying to lift the bar, aren't we, and make things so much better for people. So we talked in the last video about doing with, not for. And I remember once, many years ago, being in Sydney working with someone, and this person had a very, very competent coordinator, and she said to me, I tell the workers, when so-and-so has made their bed, you're not to fix it. I thought that was a really, really insightful thing, don't you? That she knew that if people went in and straightened that bed or made it right, the message to the individual would be, you didn't do it right. And so there's a lot of subtleties in the developmental model about how we empower and build confidence and capacity in the person to make sure that they can do what they need to do. And so what we need are workers who are understanding the plan. I talked before about the need for a plan. So what is it this person needs to learn to make life better, easier, him or her to be more independent? And then how will we be opportunistic to see what would really build that in that individual? So when a worker sees an opportunity because some new thing has opened up in your town, or they know because they're a strength-based person that this person would love to do this or that, they create that opportunity, and then from that other things build. So the developmental model is really opportunistic. We're really looking for those places in community where there might be a space for the person that we're supporting or the person that we love. And I think one of the big things in the developmental model is that we need to understand that we are not going to be, I might have already said this in the previous video, we are not going to be working with people who are going to stand up from their wheelchair and to a Cecil B. DeMille soundtrack. For those young people, you won't know what that is, older people will, and ski down the slope because they're now miraculously cured. We are working with people where we're going to be doing tiny little incremental steps. And those little incremental steps, the worker needs to be able to see that change, identify it, and acknowledge it both to the individual and other people in that person's life, other team members, family, friends, everywhere. Now, if we don't see these tiny little changes, or the times when people really, really do work on their own best interest, we are not really in a developmental model in the way we need to. And so this can be as simple as seeing that the person is becoming elevated or escalated, and they go and get their iPad and listen to music. And you might think, it's just meaningless. No, what the person is doing is self-soothing. If a person is self-soothing, they have intellectually acknowledged that they need some help and gone to do it for themselves. Wow, that might be, I'm quite a champagne girl, so that could be a 3 champagne glass celebration, I think, where we see that. If a person is quite prone to pulling hair and goes to pull someone's hair and gets to here and stops, that needs to be acknowledged, because this person has had an intellectual kind of a thing happening that says, this is not good, this will not help this relationship, I need to stop, I'll put my hand down. Another really big moment. So understanding the champagne moments, the first time someone tells you that they would like to do something. I remember many years ago my son Val came out of the spare room with his tackle box. He quite likes fishing. And he plonked it on the floor in front of his worker and said, fishing. First time he had ever directed the worker to what he would like to do today. Nowadays, Val's life is filled with things he does. He doesn't really have to direct people unless there's something extraordinary or extra he might like to do. But in those days, we were still in that embryonic stage. And that's the other thing to say to families and services who are struggling with things. We are in a long game. I'm going to say this almost every video. We are in a long game. Things aren't going to happen straight away to a large extent. But those little things that are happening are building to a bigger thing. And so we have to be really able to comfort ourselves and know that these things are really important and very, very good to see them. The other thing in the developmental model is we need to be able to know that, the way we're often showing people how to do things is by mentoring and modeling. So the person goes out and we're with them and we're relaxed, and so the person can get more relaxed, or we're interacting with the person behind the counter and the person learns how to do that because they see what we're doing and we may be encouraging one way or another. But sometimes the person may not actually pick it up from that kind of more subtle version of how we teach people. And they may need a much more individualized approach of identifying what are the blocks for that person and how will we make that happen. Many years ago, there was a very personable character who had a tech shop beside the service I ran, and he was building that business exponentially. And he said to me one day, the salesmen come to me and they say, I've rung this customer 15 times, they never answer. And he said, maybe that's not the best medium for communicating with him or her. It might be that you need to text, you need to drop in. There might be many ways that you would communicate with him or her, and maybe phoning isn't the best one. Well, it's the same with this. If modelling isn't working, there may be other ways we need to work on how we're going to help this person learn. Now, in saying this, one of the most important things in the developmental model is to try and adjust your rhythm to the rhythm of the individual. So instead of actually doing things at your pace, what you need to do is do it at the pace of the person, slowing it down to, in this case, say Ben's time. Working out what is the rhythm for this person and how long does it take for him or her to actually go through the motions without you interfering. It's very important because we can find ourselves in a situation where we are interrupting the flow when the person is not blocked, they just need more time. And so paying attention in a very mindful way to the timing of things, like you may think that breakfast is the thing that happens the moment you wake up. The person you're supporting who needs you to help with breakfast may not really want to eat until 9, even though they wake at 6. They might have heard about intermittent fasting. You never know. So basically, we need to be thinking, what is the rhythm of this person? And by the way, in family land, when people are living in families, the rhythm of the person is not necessarily going to be the way things work, because in that situation, families are trying to actually run their lives, have a life of their own, and actively support the individual. So when a person gets a chance to be out and about with a very in-touch, really connected, engaged worker, it may be that we find that the rhythms will be different or the choices will be different. An example of this I always love to tell people is that when Val, my son, and his dad, John, finally actually were not living together after quite a long time where both of them had really had enough of each other. On the first day that this happened, the worker was there with Val, and there was almond milk in the fridge for Val and regular milk for the workers. And Val went to the fridge, picked up the milk, the real milk, and said, I'll have this. made an active choice first day about what he would really like to have, as opposed to what we thought was good for him. So got to listen to those choices because they're part of the developmental model. And there will be a video that's going to be on a scaffolding and framework around choice making, because I see now that a lot of people think that because there's such an emphasis on choice and control for people, that even when a person is driven by compulsion, for example, we just have to let that person do it. Well, we're not letting anyone do anything. We are actively working with people, but we need to find the ways to help that person make good choices. After we've given the information, created the space, done all we can to help that individual, they're still going to go and buy whatever they're going to buy or do whatever they're going to do. If it's not something, jumping in front of a car or doing something very unsafe, then we will, that is our role. We have to make that, let that happen. But because we're not in charge of people. We are not in charge of people. Oh my God, this is a memo that so few people have. So in the developmental model, what we're trying to do is make sure that we are building the best relationship we can with people so that they will want to listen to us because they have had a good effect from the things that we have tried to tell them. A very powerful idea as well, huh? And I think, yeah, maybe we'll just finish that there, hey? There's lots more going to happen on this particular subject, but I think right now we'll finish this here and have a little slightly shorter presentation or content and see whether that makes it easier for people to listen all in one go. I don't mind how you do it. It's great. Just listening is good. But really like to know whether you think a shorter video makes it easier or whether you like the longer content. Thank you. See you next time.